Well, thank you so much for being here with me once again on another episode of A Legacy of Love. And today it's such an honor, a true honor and privilege to have Rob Rene with us today. Hi, Rob. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming aboard and sharing your own story. And I feel so, how can I say, I'm like speechless to say your journey, your own story, the amazing story you have to share with my audience today. Could you share a little bit about what you do for a living, what you've been doing, and a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, sounds great. So I really believe that I'm finally stepping into what God had planned for me my entire life. I know that sounds cliche, but it really is honestly true. I really feel empowered about what I'm so excited about what I am doing because I know that it's what He wanted me to do and what it's literally what He trained me my entire life to do. And that is to help people. I call myself a faith and health warrior. So I want to help people with their health, but I also am very passionate about the Lord. So I want to help people with their faith after I help them get healthy so they can get off that couch and go make a difference in this world. And they can come join me and we make a difference together.
Well, that is fabulous. I'm really touched. As you have shared before our recording, a little bit about your life and your journey and the this wonderful, skills that God gave you, and and how you've been applying it even to your daily life right now and the wonderful things that you're doing. Would you share a little bit because the audience might not know about your past and your story and how
Right.
talented you are?
Oh, I appreciate that a lot because I don't see that I'm talented. I just do whatever he's trained me to do as we talked about. But I just my whole life has just been a really strange occurrence of events. My brothers laugh at me and say, "Geez, I'm on my ninth life, right?" Because yeah, I'm like a cat. But I've had many near-death experiences and things that just happened in my life that are pretty tragic ups and downs. But man, as a youth, I started out as an athlete. I loved all sorts of different athletic events, but running was just kind of this my specialty, something that I just was better at than my peers for some reason. God just gave me this talent for running, and I started making the best of that, really learning how to train well. And my brother, who's 4 years older than I, was kind of my mentor, and he'd learn how to do things from his coaches, and he'd give it to me, and then I would learn. And it was really fun in life at that point, in the respect that I was just so much better than my peers. And I don't mean to say that in a boastful way. It was just I was God gifted me in a special way, which is really fun. I won a national cross country championship when I was young, and I ended up making the U.S. junior team so I was the second best miler in the country, in the United States, and then went on an international tour, and I won one of the international tours against the best athletes from 5 different countries, and I was just on my way. It's like I was spent 10 years of my life training and working hard every day to be a runner and to make a living running. That's what I thought my goal, yeah, at that time in my life is to be a professional runner. And then, man, God has different plans for people, right? And this was a crazy accident happened to me. I was in the winter in Utah. I was out for a long 10-mile run, and on that 10-mile run, my buddy was running behind me, and he jumped into the ditch and yelled my name, and I just had enough time to turn around, and I saw this truck coming. And I had nowhere to move. I had nowhere to get out of the way. It was just, I'm gonna get hit, and boom, truck hit me and threw me 36 feet, and landed right on my face and knocked me out unconscious. And so I'm lying in the side of the snowy, ice-covered road and bleeding like crazy and unconscious. And then I unfortunately even could not breathe because I had a bloody nose that plugged up my throat. So I was in really dangerous situation, but God had a plan for me. I look back on that now and I can tell that He did because, my friend ended up unclogging my throat, and it took 12 minutes for the paramedics to get there. So 12 minutes without breathing, you're not gonna live. So it was just amazing, miracle that I was able to survive that accident. But as you can imagine, that ended my goal in life at that particular time, right? Is to be a professional runner. and I got really depressed for a while, and it was a really difficult time in my life. But I also, you know, was well educated. I had people who loved me and supported me and brought me through that tragic accident. And I just started doing what the world told me to do. Right. So I ended up getting my college degree, and I went and got a job at a really large corporation. Started moving my way up the ladder in that corporation, and I did everything that the world said. I got married. I had three children. I had a house with a white picket fence, and all the things that you think is what you're supposed to do. I did. All right, and I was like, okay, I'm checking the box. Okay, I did that. I did this. I'm successful because I'm doing all these things, and it was never. My relationship with the Lord I was a Christian, but at the same point, at least I called myself a Christian. I really wasn't acting as one. I would go to church on the weekends, and then as soon as the door hit me in the butt on Sunday, I wouldn't think about church or really act it out and or do anything about my faith until the next Sunday. And so that was just a cycle and what I had done. And then it took the second truck that hit me to really transform my life. And so again, it was a major transformation. So I was on the corporate path and had a family and was doing what the world says is success, but I was really just had nothing inside of me that was like I wasn't gratified and I wasn't satisfied with what was going on. I just felt empty. And then the pandemic hit, and I call that the second truck that hit me. But the cool thing is it hit everybody, right? It's so not cool, but it is everybody has a story from that time frame because it just so transformational in people's lives. I equate it to my second truck is just because for me personally, it had a major transformation. Again, it's like, okay, here I am. When I was younger, I was a runner and had this goal in life and I was on my way and boom, in an instant, it changed. Same thing with the pandemic. I'm a successful career in sales. I'm doing great. Life is awesome. And then boom, the pandemic hits. I lose my job. I no longer have that. So I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And man, it was what transpired after that has been just phenomenal for me. Something if I look back on it, now I would say, no flipping way am I going to be on a podcast talking about my story and talking about faith. Because I was scared to death of talking about faith because I didn't understand it well enough. And one, I didn't like talking about myself. I still don't, but at the same point, it was something I just never saw me being in related to health and helping people from a health perspective. It was just something that never even occurred to me. And so lo and behold, I started doing research on what was going on in the world at that time, and the research I uncovered was really crazy. So I have this story that I think everybody can relate to. It's like during the early stage of the pandemic, I saw this doctor being vilified for talking about vitamin D, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're suing him for billions of dollars. I'm like, man, he must be a really bad dude, right? This doctor must be really bad, and or maybe vitamin D is really bad. So I started doing research on vitamin D. Started and I knew that from my athletic days, being a youth athlete, I knew the sun was good for you. And you can't even breathe or we can't even live without the sun, right? We don't have the plants on this earth if we don't have the sun, so we don't have oxygen. So, anyway, the more research I did on vitamin D wasn't bad. And I also had this experience when I was young, and I forgot to mention is that I loved learning about nutrition when I was a youth athlete because I read this book that was really impactful in my life that helped me understand that what I put in my mouth actually fuels my body. So it helped me be such a better runner because I knew how to fuel my body. So I had this basic understanding when I was doing this health research. I'm like, okay, I know that good nutrients help our body operate well, and so it can do what God made us to do. Our bodies literally heal itself if we give it the right things. And so, anyway, back to the vitamin D discussion. I'm like, okay, what the heck with vitamin D, man? Maybe vitamin D could really be bad, and I couldn't find anything wrong with vitamin D. So it's okay, check mark that. It's not the problem. Maybe this doctor is just a bad dude, right? Maybe he's, killing people behind the scenes or giving them, drugs he shouldn't be giving them or something, right? He's got to be doing something bad. And I couldn't find anything bad about him. He's a holistic practitioner who had a heart for people and was really helping thousands and thousands of people with their health in a really, substantial way. I'm like, okay, so that doesn't seem right. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but let's figure out why would they be suing him if based upon those two things I couldn't find out. And that's I started researching the motivation behind the lawsuit, and that's when it really uncovered to me the what I call now the medical cartel. It's you go back and research what our how our medical system was kind of taken over in the early 1900s by the Rockefellers, and they created this report called the Flexner Report, or they had it done, and that Flexner Report really took over. They used that for nefarious purposes, and they ended up taking over our medical schools at the time, and so. It's all research that you can do yourself at some point if you're interested. Just go look at the Rockefellers and the Flexner Report and our medical schools, and once you start researching that, you're going to understand that our medical system nowadays was set up back in the early 1900s for a pharmaceutical based medication rather than now natural health, and so they use that for nefarious purposes. And all our medical schools, that even today, they teach that it's a pill for an ill society, right? And the reason why they did that was all for money. It was because they could patent those drugs. And you can't patent what God put on this earth, right? You can't patent, barley grass and wheatgrass and frankincense and myrrh and all the things that I'm loving today with what I'm building. But make that long story short again, I'm like, okay. So then I uncover what I saw was just really bad things that happened, and why. Now I started to understand why our healthcare system was so bad, right? You look at the stats in the United States of America, we have almost the worst healthcare system in the world, and yet we spend way more money than anybody else in the world on healthcare. So it's just this dichotomy of we should be amazing, right? We should have the gold standard. We should be curing everybody. We should be really helping people in a substantial way, and we're not. And it's just become this roller coaster of problems and problems. And the more I researched, the more mad I got because it was like our poor seniors, the average seniors on 15 different prescription medications in a single year. So in one year, they'll end up taking 15 different prescription medications. That's on average. So that means some are taking way more than that, and some are taking less. But still, it's just one of those problems that you take a pill, and then you all have heard the commercials, right? Where the last 30 seconds of the commercial is like, oh yeah, you can lose a limb, you can die, you could lose a liver, all these bad things, side effects that each drug can have. Every drug has a side effect. And so you take that drug, has a side effect, and then you go, see another doctor because of that side effect. And that specialist gives you something to help you with that. But guess what? It's going to cause a third problem. So then you go to that doctor and he gives you a third thing. So now you're on three different medications that may or may not work together and may counteract each other. And it just becomes this snowball of problems that our society is in today. So I have a huge heart for that. And I want to help people get through that roller coaster. And so I'm having a blast educating myself on all natural health and how I can help people. And so I'm creating solutions around that problem and trying to really help people uncover the whole complexities of doing stuff naturally. And probably the most important part of this whole discovery of my life when the pandemic hit was not only did I do research on the medical system, but I did research on the Lord. And I mean that because I had always perused the Bible. I've never read the Bible. And I read the Bible every single day when this was happening. And I just developed this really strong personal relationship with Christ, which I think is something I invite everybody to have because it's transformational. Man, when I started this relationship, it became instead of a religion, which I was always basically part of a religion, not a relationship. And now I have a true relationship with him, and it's just fascinating. And I love the Bible because the Bible is so big and so complex, and there's so much to it. And you could study it for 30 years and still not be an expert in the Bible. That's how fascinating it is. But I have read it through, all the way through, and I really do it every day because actually communicates with you when you're reading the word, which is really strange to most people, but it's true. I believe that. I believe it is the living word of God, and that as you're reading it, it's fun. So I'm having a blast because I'm just listening to what the Lord wants me to do. And so it's not Rob anymore. It's not what I want to do to make a difference in this world. It's what kind of difference can I make in this world for him? And if I can make a difference for him, then I'm doing what the Great Commission says, right? That I need to go make disciples of all people. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to do it through people's health because that's one thing that I've just been and super passionate about because I believe I'm qualified for that just from my athletic ability when I was younger, and then all the research I've been doing the last 5 years is and I have a podcast where I interview these holistic practitioners who they're amazing. They've been doing this for 30, 40 years, right? And they tell me all these stories and all these really important facts on how to help get help and how to help people. And I'm just categorizing all this information into this amazing repository of good data that's going to help people. And so now I see my mission is just developing this community of people that are working together to help the human body. And then obviously, since I come from a person of faith, that I believe the faith has to be a part of that discussion because it's not just biohacking the human body, right? Biohacking is a really common term for doing things to help the body perform better, for example. And my gosh, if you just have a relationship with Christ, He can help your body perform better, right? And He can heal you. He can do things that we can't do naturally. But there are some really fun things, and we're learning about the body. And there's all these neat red light therapies and cold plunges and all these fun things that you can do to make your body better. You can do the right nutrients in your body. That I created an actual company. Exodus Strong is the company that's got a solution that helps people with the right nutrients they need and helps clear out your bloodstream of the bad stuff that's in it. And so just having a blast walking in his direction, right? Everything that he's telling me to do, I'm trying to follow and trying to make a difference in the world. So sorry for the really long diarrhea of of words, but that's my story.
No, I think that your story is very powerful, and the fact that you're wanting to offer this to everyone that's out there that's going to be listening to this podcast. It's very special to know that there's still people out there that care for our neighbor, and that's part of what God wants us
Yeah,
to do, to
that's
care
right.
for one another, and not only for ourselves. And I love the fact that you are bringing the reality, of what of pharmaceuticals and the medicine and how they've been doing this for many, many, many years, and that
Right,
most of us were not even aware of how
right.
all this started, and that now you want to help them, and because you've also been working on yourself, on your health, and at the same
Yep,
time, you could have just said, well, as long as I'm okay, it doesn't matter, how other people, if their bodies are functioning properly or they're not. And but instead, you care so much that you've been trying to find other alternatives for everyone else, not only for yourself, but then also bringing the Lord in the equation and knowing that it's not only me, it's also my neighbor, because also the Lord talks about
yeah,
to love our neighbor. How could we love the
yes,
Lord if we have never seen him, if we've heard of him, we believe in him, but we should get started with our loved ones and our neighbors. And that's what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
noticing about you, that you care and you want to help others. And of course, bringing them along and bringing the Lord, bringing the scripture, so they could also get to experience the transformation that you talked about previously earlier,
yeah,
the transformation that God is the one and the only way in order for things to be well. And I know that you have to have a little bit more a last message with the audience about your faith, about this wonderful shirt that you're wearing right now, about promoting this as a Exodus Strong, holistic, I would assume,
yeah.
medicine friendly for our bodies so they could work properly. What
That's
would
right.
you like to leave us with as a last message? And I know that you're very passionate about the Lord as I am.
Amen. Amen. I believe he created this product and solution, honestly do, because I had the passion to learn all of the biblical herbs in the Bible. So I was researching everything within the Bible. I was like, what is in there? And there's a balm in the Bible called the balm of Gilead, and it's like the healing balm. And it's just if you touch that, it heals you, right? And I'm like, well, how do we find the balm of Gilead? Let's go find that. Let's go heal the world, right? Of course, I'm not Jesus, but I just was that was my heart, right? I'm like, what can I find in here, and how can I help people with it? And I was praying and praying and reading and researching and having a lot of fun doing that, but I still didn't find anything that was like this extra special thing. But I did get introduced to one of the practitioners that I was working with, and he had this molecular hydrogen blend that is really modern, more modern science oriented rather than the ancient science that I was researching. But the cool thing about it is based upon hydrogen, right? Hydrogen is the base element in the world. It's the smallest element that God created, right? So it's still God created solution. It's just taking this hydrogen and making molecular hydrogen, and then we've figured out a way to get that into your bloodstream. And then when it gets in your bloodstream, it acts as a selective antioxidant, which it means all that means is getting rid of the bad stuff and helping the good work better. So your mitochondrial process works better because it's got hydrogen in the bloodstream. And then we took the best seven biblical herbs of organic barley grass, organic wheatgrass, saffron, aloe, cumin, frankincense, and myrrh to combine it with that molecular hydrogen to create Exodus, which is our product. And it's just helps people with energy and lasting energy through the day. It helps with the inflammation response. And so the doctors that I interview, they say that inflammation is the source of all disease. So, geez, if we can reduce inflammation, guess what? That's going to help a lot. And then one of the most important things we did was we include a this prayer guide that goes with every single bottle of our product because we want you to engage your mind, right? It's really important, and your eyes are going to be reading this. And then guess what? There's power in what? There's power in your tongue,
Yes.
right? The Bible tells us that specifically. So you need to use your tongue, you need to use your eyes to read it, and you need to use your ears to hear yourself say it. And we've got an intention, we have a Bible verse, and we have a prayer. We want you to say all three of those out loud every single day, and then you use our capsules to help you within the body, and then we're using the prayer to communicate upward as well as to declare, right? Declare yourself healthy and to declare yourself well. And then we're hoping that our prayer, we want to get 1 million people to read the word through their health. So if they start reading this, then guess what? There's a Bible verse here, Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength and very present help in trouble. And that might get you thinking, that's an interesting verse. I hadn't heard that verse before. Then we have a study guide that goes behind it, right? If you want to learn more about that verse, we have a 15 to 45-minute Bible study that you can do on that particular verse. And so it gets just fun because the Bible is fascinating. The more you dig into it and the more you learn, the more desire you have to learn more about it. And it is really fun. So we're just trying to get people introduced to the word through their health. And if it's something they do enjoy, then guess what? We have a lot more for them to enjoy. But we're trying to do just make a difference in people's life because, man, if we can help them with their health, then they're going to get off the couch. They're going to go love the neighbor, right? They're going to go have a conversation with a neighbor they've been maybe thinking about, but not doing. And they now, since they feel better, they can actually go do that. So that's our heart and our passion to help people.
Wow, that I'm very much touched by your message today. And I know there's going to be people saying, "Well, how can I actually reach out to him? I'm really interested in his products. How can I know about him?" Or, I have this concern with my health, and and he has done so much. How could they get a hold of you? How could they find you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Exodus Strong is the name of the company. And so it's super easy, exodusstrong.com. So just think of Exodus in the book and then strong, right? And you combine those two words and you'll find my company. And then in there we have contact us. You can contact my team and they're awesome. We answer every single email and we love to help people. So we'll get back with you. I'll get back with you personally and or my team can if you prefer my team. But we've got just people that are passionate for the Lord and passionate for people's health. And the awesome thing is I have this army of of doctors and practitioners that I work with that I'm not right. I'm not qualified to answer any health question, but I do have a lot of resources, and I can point you in the right direction. I can say, oh, well, guess what? I interviewed this guy last week, and he talked about that specifically. So here's his contact information. Go do that. So I have a heart. I'm building this repository of information for people because I want to have these resources that just people can go to and find. Because every time I go through a health crisis or problem, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so hard to find good information that's not pharmaceutical slanted, right? Literally, they own the scientists, they own the research reports, they own the universities and how they get funded, and so it's like all the research is biased based upon the things that they want you to know. And so, anyway, I'm having a blast doing that type of thing. So that's the best way to communicate with me.
Okay, well, I could say that thank you so much for being here with me once again on another episode of A Legacy of Love. It was such an honor. And it's very special when you actually cross your path with someone else that's also a believer and that feels so passionate about God and wants to help the neighbor. Thank you so much for being here with me today on another episode of A Legacy of Love. And you have a very, very blessed day.
Awesome. God bless you.